And we're live.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Sam. So once again, it's just us, the only two who really care.
Or just have nothing better to do.
Well, that's true.
It's a certain psychosis.
Kyle had to travel for the holiday.
Whatever that means.
Well, fireworks are legal in Wisconsin. So I'm sure that's why he went there.
He's at Lake, what was it, one of Squamport from The Simpsons. Give me a box of condoms, a bottle of Old Harper, and some illegal fireworks, and a hustler.
So since the last time we did this, I think the Cubs have won
once,
twice.
What do you think the temperature is? 1. Okay, yeah. I want to start. I got a thing.
All right, good.
Is that all right? Do you mind if I just jump right in here?
Yeah, you're not allowed.
Oh, okay, I'm being the new guy.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Theo Epstein's on the radio today. He likes to talk, and I like the fact that he likes to talk because he usually has something to say. And he alludes to, well, the next month, the next 3 weeks are going to tell the tale, even with the extended trade deadline or whatever. And he says, if we were 10 games behind some hot team, or if we don't play well, we might look at selling. I ask you, Mr. Dolan, what does this team sell? How does it sell? Where are they going with that? They have no choice but to make the most of this season. Now, if they just say, well, we're not going to give up our prime prospects, and I don't even know how long that list is, that's okay. But this team is built to compete every year. You can't just say, oh, yeah, we're going to back it up. They can't back it up. There's nothing to back it up with. So to me, that's...
And then didn't he give the example? I didn't actually hear it, but I read people
I didn't listen to the show. I don't listen to that show. I got better things
I don't either.
Do.
So neither one of us did. But we'll talk about
what I was following along on Twitter.
Yes. And he said it before that he was going to sell in 2017. They were going to trade Jake and Wade. But then they didn't. And instead they traded 4Q.
Quintana.
And they got to the NLCS. Which
you can't really argue.
So they've never really been... they haven't tried to do this. But I think you're right. This is not a team built to... they're not... Even if they did, they're not rebuilding.
Right. They're trying to rebuild.
They're still trying to just... Even if you make a relatively big trade, you're still just trying to patch the team you have. Because that's the team you're going to have next year. You're not...
Right. I mean, let's be honest. We're going to get to your list. For those who don't know, Andy's got a list of tradable Cubs. It's not pretty.
You're the only one who would know. You're the only one I told.
Right. So I'm letting everyone the secret now. Yeah. Whoever's actually bothering to listen to this. So you're not moving Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, Baez. You're just not. That would be nonsensical. So they're the core of your team next year. And with that core, you would expect to be competitive. I would imagine John Lester has a full no trade.
Yes. Yes, there are 4 guys you cannot trade, no matter how bad you want to. Even if you found somebody who wanted them.
Right.
Lester, Hayward, Kimbrel, and you.
And you wouldn't be trading Kimbrel anyway.
Kimbrel doesn't have a no trade, but you just signed him and you're not allowed to trade him that fast.
Right. That wouldn't make any sense. You could try and get Lester to waive it, I suppose, but he's not going to do that. And why should he?
Well, he'd go one place.
Braves?
No, I think he'd go back to Boston.
I don't think they'd want him.
No, they won't. That's why you're not going to trade him.
Yeah.
And you do more harm asking him than...
Okay. Let's detour for a sec. We'll get back to your trade list. So I wrote this piece today, and it was basically in defense of your guy, Joe Madden. Because they've already tried to pin some things on him last offseason. And the gist of the piece was they came out and said, well, the players have told us they would like more batting practice. They would like less days where we show up late. Less shenanigans. We want to be more tuned in. We kind of want to tone down the Joe Madden isms of how he runs a baseball team. They said all this. So this is what they've produced in that atmosphere. They're even less locked in, less tuned in than they were last year. Really silly baseball at times. Really bad baseball at times. So to me, you can't blame Joe Madden twice. This is something on the players. But I can't figure out which players I'm talking about. I mean, is Anthony Rizzo clubhouse cancer? No, there's no way. And I apologize for using that term. It's not Chris Bryant. It's not Javi Baez. It's not Wilson Contreras.
Here's my, not to interrupt you, but here's here's what I think happened.
Okay.
I think when you saw how pissed off Theo was, I think Theo was leading the witnesses. He's a very dominant personality, even though he likes to. Everybody think he's shy. For a shy guy, he goes on the radio a lot.
Yeah, he's also. I
have a feeling it was a lot of. Don't you think it would have been better if you guys had taken more batting practice? Don't you think it would have been better if you guys actually got to the park earlier and worked on stuff? Don't you think? And he's got a bunch of guys who are, I can't tell you. I don't know who it would be if there was somebody there who came in and said, you know what we need to do? We need to take more batting practice. We need to do more of this. We need to do more of that. Because honestly, Joe doesn't really prevent them from doing it.
No. They can get to the park whenever they like.
There were guys he would yell at because they would still come and do it anyway. And not yell at. He's Joe. It had to be cool. And so I never bought that. I felt like that was Theo venting. And the media believes everything he says.
Right.
And they don't think he ever exaggerates.
Yeah. But see, Theo perhaps is the only front office guy in town. I'll throw Ryan Pace on there too, I guess. He's not a bus toss guy. I mean, I don't think he is.
No, I don't think he is either.
I mean, he usually owns up to what he thinks is wrong, and he did so today. Although I don't know what he was supposed to do this offseason because we know he had his hands tied by the Omaha Hillbillies. But, I don't think he's trying to shift the blame, but even whether it was the players or leading the witness, as you say, they've attempted to tone down what makes Joe Madden very Joe Madden. And they said, all right, we're gonna expect you to act a little more professional. And this is what they've gotten. They've gotten a team that has just not been at the races. And they sort of look like a team that is trying to get its manager fired. I know what that looks like. I've been a Cubs fan long enough. But you've already done that. I mean, I don't. You can't keep. I don't want to say complacency, but that's what it sort of feels like. But I don't know who you'd punt to wake everyone up because you just can't really lose those guys.
Well, I think it's really kind of weird that it's great to have this young core that they dreamt on forever, but they haven't really supplemented it ever.
Not very well.
I mean, they tried. I guess they got Hayward. They thought that was going to be something. It wasn't.
They had Zobrist.
And the idea that they were all going to be good was ridiculous. So... it's the whole idea.
Not good, and that's Russell. You and I will defend Schwarber till the end of time.
I don't think Albert's good.
Oh no, Albert's not good either. But I don't know that he was ever considered.
But they never bothered to get anybody else to play his position though.
Not yet.
I mean, if you looked at it and said, "All right, we don't think Albert's as good as we thought," but that's okay. We don't need we don't need anybody to stand out there in center field who can actually hit.
And the other thing was Albert and Russell, to a lesser extent, were both rushed to the majors. Albert never hit in the minors, really.
No.
So, I mean, Brian and Schwarber and Rizzo earlier, they let them have success earlier in the minors.
Well, and those were the college guys.
Yeah. Rizzo didn't go to college.
Well, no, but he was. He didn't come he'd already played for the Padres before they got him.
Yeah. So.
That's like playing for a college baseball team.
Basically, yeah.
Old San Diego
Padres. Old San Diego Padres. But yeah, I mean, Zobrist, I think that's an absence that is a little bigger than people think because they want to take time to laugh at his divorce. And fair enough, I'll laugh at Juliana Zobrist, in my time. But he backs you up at second, he backs you up in right, he backs you up in left. He does really stretch the lineup. And even if in an ideal situation, he's only going to play 100, 120 games, you forget that he hit 310 last year or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's a noticeable. This roster was built with the idea that he was going to play at least half the games.
So that's a big absence. And the thing is, you could totally do this absence on the ground. You could say, if I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and say something is broken in the clubhouse and it's Lester with his fried chicken and video games again. But Brian hasn't hit for any power since he ran into Jason Hayward and the concrete wall that he is. Rizzo has actually been pretty terrible in June, going into July now. And these guys, I mean, I don't want to say Teflon. They shouldn't be criticized. They're allowed bad months, but this team is built with the idea that those guys are going to be great.
Yeah, and they can't. When your lineup is as thin as theirs is,
right?
They can't not be good.
Right.
They can not be great for a month, but they can't not be good when they're not great, because then you don't score any runs.
And they're not.
Because this lineup really has 4 people in it. Sometimes 5. If Kyle is hitting, you have 5. Otherwise, you've only got 4 guys, and then there's a lot of outs at the bottom of that lineup.
You've got Hayward hitting now.
Yeah,
even though he's hurt now.
That should be the cherry on the sundae. It's holy crap, even this guy's hitting, and instead it's like, oh my god, I hope he gets a big hit because we need him to do it.
Right, but even if Hayward's hitting, you have a hole in either right or center wherever he's not playing.
Yep. You're getting nothing out of second base.
And you're getting nothing out of second base. Now you could, I'm not as passionate as some who are the play Bodie every day crowd, and I think he should play more. And then you can put Brian in right and see if it works. I mean, he's been average. Bodie.
Well, honestly, you need him to. It's almost indefensible to have him not play second base.
It's not indefensible because I was looking this up the other day. I did my research.
Okay.
And even though he's not hitting in the least, if he played enough innings to qualify, Addison Russell would be the second best defensive second baseman in the league by Fangraphs measures. So if they're saying, well, we need his defense, especially when Hendricks or some other ground ball pitcher's on the mound, I'll buy that. But then you've got to figure out what you're doing in right or center field. Yeah. But even I mean, how many lineups, it's the Astros and the Dodgers and the Yankees, and that's it, who go like 1 through 9 or 1 through 8. So, if they have 6 or 7 guys, that should be enough to me.
Well, you pair that, though, with what is right now a patchwork starting staff and a bad bullpen.
You've made patchwork. And
you need to score more runs than you have been. You can't score as many or a tick down and win those games.
No.
And it's funny though, Theo made a big deal, and it's because it's frustrating because it happens all the time. It didn't happen tonight, but it happens all the time. They get behind early. But we've seen this before.
Yeah.
They went through that huge stretch in 2017 where they always did it.
They were down 5-0 like for 3 straight weeks.
And they managed to still win games enough while that was happening, and then they got over it somehow.
I mean, they're not out of anything.
No,
which is the good story. And
I still think they're the best. I think they're the best team.
Yes,
in the division.
Too. And
so the idea that they would sell is laughable.
I mean, well, and that'll bring it all back. I think part of the reason, and I don't, there's no great team in the NL Central, but they're all cannibalizing each other. I mean, does anyone have a really superior record against the division? I don't think so. So
no, weren't they all under 500 in June, or 500 or worse?
Right, but they're all
division.
They're all playing each other too. So, it's weird. I don't know what the disconnect is. And if you're right, if Theo was leading the witness, as you put it, and I'm not ruling that out, that actually sounds incredibly plausible. Well, then go ahead and fire your manager, right? Like if you're like, this doesn't work, and I'm going to pee-pee slap him anyway, I'm basically stripping him of his authority.
Yeah. Well, it's so, and this is where, given the press conference after the season, everybody expected, holy shit, they're going to make huge changes. They're going to spend money.
Right.
They're going to trade people that we never thought they'd trade. They may very well fire their manager.
Yeah, which if they'd signed Bryce Harper, they'd be exactly where they are now.
except everybody could just blame it on Bryce.
Right.
Well, they tried. They got Bryce, and he sucks, and it's his fault.
Right.
But they made all that noise, and then they didn't do anything.
Nope, not at least.
In fact, they got worse, and we knew they got worse. I mean that.
Well, how much?
Not only did they have a shitty bullpen, but they somehow managed to start the season with one where nobody had any. I guess Carl was the only one who had any minor league options, so they couldn't even do the thing where like they're doing now, which is
the shuttle.
a great effect. They couldn't even do the shuttle early in the season because they couldn't shuttle anybody without losing them. Then they got to the point where they realized that some of these guys were so bad it didn't fucking matter if you lost them or not. So they were happy to put them on waivers and try to send them down to Iowa.
Right.
By the
Yeah,
way,
I don't know. I mean, I don't see it as a team that should be any worse than last year. In fact, it should be better because supposedly you had a healthy Bryant and you have a healthy Darvish.
Yeah, and you had Hamels for a whole season.
And you have Hamels for a whole season. And
until his side fell off.
Until his side went to the other side. And now he's probably out till August.
And there's nothing to worry about with that injury. It's not like it's the one he had in 2017 that then lingered until August of 2018.
Yeah, that made him bad.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't. And the problem is now if they barf until the All-Star break, or say they lose one more to Pittsburgh and lose both to the White Sox, whatever, and they want to make a move, well, who's going to take over this team? You're going to turn this over to Mark Loretta? No. So, I mean, I think they backed themselves into a corner here.
We're not going to find a better manager. They have to just stop. You basically have to let Joe be Joe.
Yeah.
Either let him do the job and get out of the way, and if you want to then let him waddle off at the end of the season, you do that.
Right, and then
but getting rid of him, I guess could you dig up Jack McKeon? He's still alive, right?
He's always around.
Yeah. You sit there with an unlit cigar in his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a seriously run team with no bullshit, I guess that's the guy you dig up for half a season.
Maybe we can instead of having Dave Kaplan pine for Joe Girardi, we can get him to advocate Ozzie Guillen. That's just the kind of edge that the Cubs would need to get over the hump.
Joe Girardi and Theo Epstein would last for like a month. Like, isn't Girardi?
They wouldn't get to the interview.
Isn't Girardi like the anti analytics manager guy, like who runs his team? He's hell on young players. I remember that.
He's got that binder. I don't know what's in the binder, but it's big, and he refers to it often.
Right. I mean, he coached himself out of New York, and they loved him.
Yes. They replaced him with a barely sentient broadcaster.
Right. Just look at them now.
Basically just sits there in the corner of the dugout, and they just beat the shit out of everybody. So,
well, that's how it should work. That's how it should work here.
Yes. Your manager should just set the lineup and get out of the way.
And here's the other, like, if you're going to go into next year and hire everyone's buddy, David Ross, which they've been making noise about for years, how do you expect this to get, like, more in tune? He's not going to yell at anybody. He's not going to tune anybody up. He's just going to sit there and pretend he's a player. It'll be Dusty all over again.
He can he'll be busy playing grab ass with Lester and Rizzo in the dugout all the time.
Yeah. So they need to find their own barely sentient broadcaster.
Like I said, sentient.
Didn't
even get the word right.
Bring Coom Dog down. Anyway, let's get to your list.
Let's get them runs. All right. So I very hastily jotted down the entire 40-man roster.
Oh God.
There were people on it that I didn't remember.
Okay. That's never a good sign.
Alan Webster. Did you know he's still a thing?
Isn't he hurt or something?
He's on the 60-day DL.
Okay.
It's a good place for him. So he was on there. Needless to say, I did not put him in any of the tradable categories.
Okay.
So anyway, I broke them down into, well, there is a category which is untradeable.
Right.
A lot of people in that. 16 of them out of the 40 are in that category.
But for various reasons, right? They're not all the same reason.
No, that one is pretty much the reason, is that no one would want them.
No one would want them. Not that they're a centerpiece.
It includes people, I won't give the whole list, but it includes people like Xavier Cedeno, Dylan Maples,
Randy Rosario.
Sure, a lot of teams would be like, ooh, that's a great arm. Why don't you keep him for a while, and then maybe you figure out, and then we'll take him later.
I would love to see him get more than one start every time or one appearance every time he comes up before he gets sent back down. But that's just me.
No, we got to keep
Randy Rosario.
Yes, because you need that lefty. Randy, yet another lefty who doesn't get lefties out.
He doesn't get anybody out.
He's a perfect. Well, that's right. He doesn't get anybody out. But maybe if he only got lefties out, he'd have value.
Right.
Not getting anybody out.
Okay. I'm leaning back now. I'm ready.
All right. Good. All right. So the 4 categories I came up with are the untouchables.
Okay.
Close to untouchable. I didn't put a lot of thought into these names.
I can tell.
Some trade value and dubious trade value.
Okay.
Dubious trade value has quite a few names in it.
I'm sure.
So I I only put 2 names in the untouchable list.
Brian and Rizzo.
You've one of those 2.
Brian and Baez.
I put Baez and Rizzo in the untouchables.
Okay.
For the only reason being that those they're Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez are obviously their 3 best players.
Yes.
At some point, they're going to have to figure out if they think they can actually keep Chris Bryant. If
Because
they
it's going to
think
be a $30 million player.
if A, they're going to want to pay him what he is, and B, if they're even going to get a chance to pay him, or if they're just worried that we're going to ride this whole thing out and we're going to end up with a draft pick because Boris is just going to take him to free agency come hell or high water. Now, he's not a guy that you would trade. It would be moronic to trade him in season. And it would be moronic to trade him anytime before the year. He has just as much value the year before he's a free agent as he does now. So
it'd be moronic to trade him full stop.
Well, yes. I'm not saying that I would actually do it.
Boris is going to take him to free agency. That's what he does. But then you simply just outbid. You hand him what he wants. And I don't care if that's Mike Trout's contract. You figure it out.
What if he doesn't want to play with you?
Well, you better. Okay, but I can't Okay, I love Chris Bryant, but let's be honest. The water doesn't run very deep there. I can't imagine.
On. He's their player rep, so he's clearly the smartest guy on the team.
Okay, we all know the player rep gets chosen because I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
stick it to that guy.
Well, basically, it was Kyle Hendricks said, "Fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore."
Right.
It's your turn. You go to the meeting.
I can't imagine that Bryant ever gets emotional enough to decide I don't want to play here anymore because what? They manipulated my service time? Like, he's just not that guy.
What if he just wants to play? What if he doesn't like Chicago?
Who doesn't
he just
like
wants
Chicago?
To play? Oh, there's got to be somebody.
He wants to go to San Diego?
He's going to be a Dodger.
Why would he want to be a Dodger?
Because they win?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess, that would be by the time Justin Turner would be retiring, but,
See, it's all lining up. Okay, but I'm not really trading any of those.
You're not... put Brian on your unmovable list, but anyway, all right. Anyway, okay, so we're done with the untouchables.
For the purposes of this, at the very least, this current trade.
Now you gave me all this Spilkus. We're only gonna get 2 more years of Chris Bryant. What the hell?
I'm just saying that if you're big brain Theo, you got to think of this stuff.
Isn't he a free agent in 2021 too, though?
Well, that's true. He's gonna walk out, and then all the players are gonna leave, and then the Ricketts are gonna be standing there like, "What happened?"
And it really is gonna be the '85 Bears.
Yeah. Well, maybe they can. Is there a Tobin somewhere they can dig up? Bill, Vince, we'll take any of them.
There's always a Tobin. All right, complete with the manager doing all the commercials. All right, okay. So there's your untouchable list.
All right, so my close to untouchables, and I was laughing when I put the first name down, but it's maybe before last night it would have been so funny, but they're not going to trade Adbert.
No.
It's like, holy shit, they've actually got a good young pitcher. They developed him themselves. Not going to trade Adbert.
Yeah, they're watching the other one on the south side today. They're not letting the other one go.
So you're not going to trade Kyle Hendricks.
No.
You signed him to a nice, cushy contract.
Very affordable contract, I might add.
You're not going to trade Wilson because he's good and cheap, and those are the best kind.
Let's hang on there a second. No, I'd say it's very unlikely. But Contreras is a little older than you think. It's like 28, right?
Well, yeah, he spent a lot of time in
the minors. Those are catcher miles. He is not.
Well, they're not all catcher miles because he jacked around a third base for a couple of years.
Right. He's a great hitter. His defense is going backwards and probably is not going to get better. You've got Caratini and you've got Amaya behind him, right? In the system. Is that his name?
That's his name. Yeah, I don't
know how he's far away, but he's there. Is Contreras that untouchable?
No, he's not only untouchables.
Well, right, but is he if you were going to try and make a splash?
This list are people that you would listen to people. You would listen. If somebody called, you would say, "What would you give me?"
Right. Okay, that's where I'd put him. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm just looking at this core of this.
No, sorry,
team.
I wasn't Jesus Christing you. I was Jesus Christing you, but why you, not why are you?
I mean, I'm. If they want to do the Garcia Parra thing or trade something that seemed untouchable to just get everyone to pay attention again, to make it clear that like there's a sense of urgency at all. Oh God.
That's what I was acting.
Yeah, I'm behind you here thanks to streaming. I think he's probably the one you can most afford to lose.
Well, I hope you get a catcher back then.
Probably would need. Well, I wouldn't trust Caratini every day.
You can't have Vic playing more than twice a week, and twice might be pushing it.
Melky Cabrera, my God, really?
But see, I also put in the last guy on that list. I put is Schwarber, because he's another guy that if he gave you a good offer for it, you certainly should listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm less married to it now than because I don't think they have the depth behind him that I once did.
Yeah, and who would play left field if he doesn't play left field? I mean, he plays every day for two reasons. A, he's better equipped than he used to be. B, they don't have anybody else to play out there.
Like
they can barely stock right and center. They can't open another hole.
The trading Schwarber thing made more sense when I thought Happ might be good and Eloy was still around. Like now, like it's basically ride or die with Schwarber. And then, as you say, you'd listen. If you get a great offer, you can't turn around. Fine, but I'm more of the opinion that you'd be selling for 75 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about the Nomar trade, and I got ahead of this. I wrote my column before everybody else wrote theirs.
Okay.
David Haw wrote it yesterday. That was nice. He was a month late, like normal. I mean, Nomar. There was another reason they were willing to trade Nomar. He was coming off a fucked up wrist.
Yeah.
And a leg.
And
they were not convinced he was going to be able to stay healthy, and then he didn't.
No, so red bursting crotch dots.
It was a headline grabbing trade. I think it did kind of slap the team in the face a little bit, but it was not really all that risky because they didn't want to keep him.
Right.
And so they were getting value for an asset that they were going to let walk. And it ended up being the absolute right thing to do because they got a shortstop who had two legs.
Who could catch the ball.
Then they played much better after that and ended up, I guess they won a World Series.
They did?
I haven't heard much about that.
No, not at all. It's kind of melted into the pages of history.
Okay, so then there's my some value category.
Some value.
These are guys that...
So like some
one of them's hurt now, so that makes it tough.
Okay.
But these are guys you could trade, and teams would be like, oh, you're going to trade that guy?
You can trade right now. Not in the offseason, like right now. Okay.
So here's what I've got. Steve Cishek.
Yeah.
I mean, people would look at him. He obviously is not a closer, but he's a dependable reliever. People would give you something for him.
Nothing much, but something.
Cole Hamels, who, had he stayed healthy and you decided that you really did want to pull the cord, you could get a nice return for Cole, but now you can't.
Now you can't.
Jose Quintana.
Yeah.
He still has another year after this on his affordable contract, which makes him even that much easier to trade.
More so if he strings another 2 or 3 starts together like Saturdays.
Yep. Pedro Strop, who I don't think you would trade, but he's got value.
Yeah, I don't want Pedro Strop out of my life. But you're right. You put him on the market, someone would be interested.
And amazingly to me, Brandon Kinsler, who was also resuscitated to trade value. But if you look at this list, the saddest thing about it is it's middle relievers who you don't get shit for. No. That's what this is and you also have a terrible bullpen.
You get
if you're trying to fix your team by trading the 3 relievers you have that you can count on, it doesn't really help. So this is not.
Well, I don't know. You can count on Cishek, but that's a single. All of those get you maybe a single A lottery ticket.
Yeah, you don't get anything that's going to help you.
Which is why fixing the bullpen shouldn't have been all that hard, and still might not be, because you don't really have to give up that much.
Right.
Like, what is Aaron Bummer going to cost you? Nothing.
Right. I mean, if you look at it and say, we need another team's Pedro Strop.
Right.
You know from what you could expect to get for Pedro that it's not going to cost you very much to get somebody else's Pedro.
No.
So just go do that. And then there's the dubious trade value list, which starts with Addison Russell.
None. I don't think it's dubious. I think that's none.
Yeah, there's that one team that would be like, okay, I guess, it's the cloud has passed, at least the daily.
Hang on. Let me stay right there. And I know the answer to this, but I'm going to put it out there. If the Cubs were true to their word and said and are truly invested in his development as a person, you can't trade him.
No, you can't, because you're his support system.
You're
the thing that is keeping him that is guiding him back to being a productive member of society.
Whatever
you
that
can't
track
foist
is.
him on another team.
You can't undo all that structure. And if you trade him, you're simply admitting to everyone that all it was a baseball interest only, and that everything else you said about him and you said about Melissa was all window dressing. You were just trying to get what you thought could be your star shortstop back. And if you trade him, he has dubious trade value. Yes, probably you can find one team to be like, we can rehabilitate him and we can on the field and off the field. You can probably find one team.
Yeah, somebody who would be willing to put up with the PR backlash you get when you first make the trade.
Well, that's why you trade him to Tampa. There's no PR.
Yeah, that's true. But realizing that the Cubs have already borne the biggest brunt of that,
right?
Because they were the first team to bring him back. So yours is going to be, you're going to get some, but it's going to be less, and it goes away.
Very dubious.
I mean, there are a lot of people who still hate Addison and always will, but there's not the daily holy shit, why is this guy still on the team thing. You can't maintain that. It has to exhaust itself.
Right.
And if he ever does anything remotely bad again, then he's just gone.
Right. Very dubious value, though.
Yeah, it's very dubious. Here's just as dubious, because I think the only people who think that he's been pitching better lately are Joe, who never thought he wasn't pitching well at all, amazingly, and Jim DeShays. Brad Brock.
Oh God. Very dubious.
Yes, it's very dubious. And this whole list is very dubious.
Well,
there's one guy on it.
I'll give Brock.
Two guys on it are I think absolutely tradable.
I'll give
the rest
Brock this
not
of late, and these are only the last two outings. For some reason, Joe Madden has now used him as a multi-inning mop-up guy, which he's not.
No.
So he threw 50 pitches in Cincinnati or something.
Well, and then,
when 2 days later he brought him in Pittsburgh to throw another 35.
Yeah. And the dumb thing about that, it looked like he was doing the thing where, with Adbert blowing up early, you bring in one of your middle relievers to get you out of that inning,
right?
While one of your long relievers warms up.
You only have
one.
So
then that guy comes in to start the next full inning, and he pitches as long as he can.
Right.
But Brock came out again to pitch the next inning when they had crept back into the game, partially because he had driven in a run himself.
Yeah.
Amazingly. And then he, of course, gives that run right back to the opposing pitcher.
My other problem, and this is the only mistake I'm going to put on Joe for this streak, and I don't know how it's not. I don't think it's a huge part of this streak, because this streak is like 6 weeks long now, and I wrote about it today. Was I didn't understand why you would go to a 6-man rotation right after one of your starters got hurt. Like Hendricks got hurt. He's like, okay, we're going to go with 6 guys. Like, but you just lost a guy, so now you're voluntarily going into your depth.
Yeah. Because it sounds like they've been thinking about it before Hamels got hurt.
Or Hendricks got hurt.
They were thinking about it because they like to do it around this time of the year. And it was mostly to get Quintana an extra day.
Right, which is fine. But then
there are ways to get Quintana an extra day without having to go to a 6-man rotation for 3 weeks.
No, Chatwood hasn't been that good, but he's another long guy besides Montgomery. So one of these games where your starter is blown up, whether it was Alzolay or whoever blew up that day.
It was the other one was Hamels left after 1 inning.
Right, Hamels. So Chatwood is an option there, and even if he eats it, he can go out there for 5 or 6.
Yeah, and he only has to. He eats it, and then the rest of your bullpen is ready to go the next day.
Right.
But when you've crammed him into the rotation, then you don't have him.
You don't have him. They should have just brought him in anyway. You said, "Look, man, you're gonna have to lose your start, but we need to do this."
Well, last night they did send him down. Was it whatever night it was? I've lost all track. 2 nights ago,
they all look the same now.
They sent him down to the bullpen because they would have used him if they hadn't decided to go to Descalso. All right.
Okay.
Next up on the dubious trade value list.
Dubious trade value list.
Albert Almora.
Yeah.
Somebody would give you something for him. You're not going to get much.
If only for his glove. He has 1+ skill. I don't know how, because he can't run, but he's a plus center fielder.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. He must just be the most instinctual outfielder of all time.
Of all time.
To somehow get himself in the right position
and
to catch the ball.
That's at this point, that's Russell's value. He's a plus defender. So that's some value.
Yes, but Albert comes without any of the baggage, so you could actually get a human in return for him.
He just comes with hair.
I I'm putting him on the list, even though I was going to leave him on the untradeable one because I think somebody would give you something for him. Is Ian Happ? There's got to be another team who's like, why are the Cubs? Why are they just letting him wallow in AAA?
Isn't he?
We'll get him. We'll fix him.
210 down there.
It's not good, especially when you look at
what
Robel, Garcia, and Mark Zagunas hit at AAA. And then you look at Ian Happ, and you're like, buddy, it can't be that fucking hard to hit.
Buddy.
Let's get our shit together.
Isn't the PCL also known for, like, its hitters' parks?
Yes. And apparently, if you think the ball is juiced in the big leagues, it's a super ball.
Right.
It's super fun ball.
Because you have more clowns tossing it towards you.
That's true. Yes. They throw ball 1, ball 2, fastball down the middle. That's the one you swing at.
Yeah.
But apparently, Ian is swinging it at the first 2 pitches. And then he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
My favorite middle reliever, maybe yours, Carl Edwards Jr.
Yeah, it still has value.
Yep.
But again, these aren't franchise turning values.
Well, no, this is even. Think about. We couldn't come up with. You weren't going to get a good return for the previous list. Right. This list is worse.
This list is worse.
Mike Montgomery.
No, I mean, yeah, he's left-handed, so.
Yeah, but he doesn't get lefties out at all.
He doesn't get anybody out right now.
No, but he really doesn't get lefties out.
Yeah.
I mean, that OPS is like 1,500 against lefties.
Bad.
It's amazing. And you almost think Joe keeps putting him out there because it's like, well, the law of averages says he's going to get somebody out.
Right, he's due.
Then he does like last night where he basically ends the game with a 3-run homer.
Yeah.
Victor Caratini.
Yeah, okay.
He's a switch hitting backup catcher. There's value there. So you get somebody for him.
Think he could be a starter.
I told you the last 2 guys on the list you get somebody for. And then, because he's got that exciting contract, David Bodie.
Exciting.
That has to cut into his value just because teams are like, why do we have to pay him real money? He hasn't fucking done anything yet.
I don't think $3 million is real money to these teams, but okay.
Well, it depends who you're shopping him to.
Yeah,
but you would get somebody for David Bodie.
Okay, so the way we established is they can't change the team with the guys they can trade.
No, they'd have to trade Chris Bryant.
Yeah,
and they're not going to do that. So when we all sit around and like, ooh, what are they going to do? What are we going to do with the trade deadline? They're not going to do shit that shakes the team up because they can't do it because the players they're willing to trade have very little value.
I'm gonna play your fantasy for just 5 minutes because it's all I can do for my mental health. If you put Bryant on the block, let's fill it out. You say, okay, we'll trade him to the Dodgers. I mean, what return are you looking for? We start with Verdugo.
Yeah,
right?
You get Alex Verdugo.
Keep going. Or Walker Buehler.
I want them both.
Okay, you want them both.
Well, you're getting Chris Bryant.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that might not
starts
be enough.
with those 2, and then let me peruse your Albuquerque roster, and I'm taking your 2 best prospects. And if you don't fucking like it, then you can't have him.
Who actually turn out good, unlike.
Well, the problem is they'll come into the Cub organization then and they'll immediately be derailed.
Right, and get off whatever drugs the Dodgers put them on, and yeah, okay. Anyway, that's probably that's not happening in the middle.
No,
of the
it's not
season.
happening. That's
it's not happening.
The only move you could make that would help you you're still not going to recoup his value, especially not this year. So you're worse.
Mm-hmm.
The only Chris Bryant trade that makes sense is the year before he's a free agent, and it's one that gets you multiple players that you're going to build your next 5 years around. So they have nobody to trade. All
right, then. So we've established that. So if you're Theo Epstein right now, you're, no offense, but you're a whole lot handsomer, and you're Theo Epstein. He's a very handsome man.
Yes, he is.
And you're sitting in that
chair. He's losing
his
hair, though. I've got all mine.
Yeah, well, common affliction amongst the very charming.
I know. Yes.
What are you doing this season? What are you doing with the rest of the season? Because I don't think it matters how well they play. This team is built to try and compete. I feel like the choices should be really go in and try and win, or like kind of try and tinker. Yeah. But there is no selling, and I don't think there's any standing pat. I mean, you can't just keep rolling these guys out.
I think you finally have to upgrade. You need another outfielder. Whether it's a center fielder, you're always playing an outfielder short. Yeah. You need another outfielder, and you need to keep fixing the bullpen. So those are 2 moves you have to make.
But fixing the bullpen's easy.
Right, but you have to do it. I'm saying you can't just go, well, all right.
Yeah, you need one or two more.
You only have, because there is one true trade deadline this year. You have 28 days to do it.
Mm-hmm. Is it July 31st? That's the official one. They didn't move it to like
move
August,
which doesn't make any sense.
Right, it should be like August 15th or something.
Yes, if you're going to get rid of the waiver deadline, then the waiver trade one, then you should have moved the regular one back 2 weeks to split the difference, and they didn't do that. And they will someday.
Right.
And it's like, well, why didn't you fucking do it at the beginning when everybody knew you needed to do it?
I don't think there's a terrible amount of names out there that are going to move the needle here. Eric Sogard is not too much for me. And I love nerd power, but the metrics behind what he's doing do not bode well. So I don't know where you're going to get this outfielder.
Why don't you just get Dan Vogelbach back? Play him in center field. He covers a lot of ground just standing still out there. It'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go get Brandon Crawford and then move Bryant to right?
Well, I guess that's the other thing you could do. You could get an infielder and make Chris Bryant your everyday right field. Go with the then you run the risk of him and Hayward colliding again.
Right, and you're putting Bodie at third base every day, or you're putting Baez at third base every day with Russell at short. I mean, there's some pieces there, and Brandon Crawford is no
you'd have to get
either.
Right, you have to get if the two moves you made were two infielders, you would do it to move Bryant to the outfield and to fix second base somehow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an option. His flexibility provides you that. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't like we could say like, oh, they shouldn't sell out. They shouldn't sell out the farm for this year. They don't have a farm.
No, they don't. You don't have to worry about accidentally trading your top prospects.
It's Alzolay, really and that's it, right? I mean, Horner, and I don't think they're going to move him at all. And so, Amaya's way down there, and I think you can move him because you have Contreras. He's not going to replace Wilson Contreras. So there's your one piece. My Sox fans friends have been trying to pawn Alex Colomé off on me for Amaya for the whole season.
Yes, I would rather have Bummer.
Yes,
pay less than to get Colomé.
Absolutely.
We have our closer. His ERA is only 13.5. It'll be fine.
Did he blow up at some point when I wasn't paying attention?
He pitched in the ridiculous game 2 nights ago and gave up 3 runs in the 9th. But it's there's no adrenaline.
When to get to the 18?
Yes.
Okay, whatever.
He was 16, 17, and 18.
He hadn't pitched in
Descalso was 14 and 15.
Okay.
He was supposed to finish the game and couldn't, so they had to go to their closer. Went down 12. But Joe rightly figured, we're not going to fucking need him for a while.
Right.
So
it wasn't matter.
Craig, you want to get some work in? Let's go.
Okay. Well, this is a fun situation to be in for all. Sorry, adjusting here.
Now, the best thing they could do would be to just play better.
Well, that's within them.
Yes. Oh, no, I meant it when I said it, and you agreed. I believe you meant it. They really do have fewer roster problems than the other teams in the division. But they have problems because every team in the division has some big hole in it. The Brewers can't pitch to save their ass until they get to Josh Hader, and even he occasionally just decides to give up home runs. They
could come out of the break and win 12 of 13, and it wouldn't be out of character. I wouldn't be surprised. And hell, 1-12 out of 13 streak probably puts this division away.
Well, this pre-All-Star break crap is a tradition. Ever since Joe got here, this is the week. These 2 weeks, they always play like shit.
But they don't add the 4 weeks ahead of it usually.
Well, that's true. Yes, they're not supposed to putter around 500 the weeks before that, which then make the bad 2 week stretch that much worse.
I mean, and you could say like, well, what's the point? They're just going to get labeled by the Dodgers in the NLCS. Best case scenario, and perhaps that's true. But
but you don't
play that way. I mean,
no,
it's a short series. Like it's not the NBA, it's not the NHL where you plan for the playoffs. You kind of just get there
or even if it is the NBA, it could be that you're the Toronto Raptors and you're overmatched going into the finals, and then
everyone gets hurt.
2 of the 3 best players in the other team all of a sudden fall down hurt, and you're like, holy shit, we're gonna win the NBA championship.
Right. Although they tried that 2 years ago when Corey Seager couldn't play, and they still got throttled. But
Yeah, because they decided that they weren't going to ever get Kike Hernandez out.
Right, which is really
Would you like to hit another home run, Kike?
We can help you do that. We can help you with that.
Corey's got a thing for the Cubs. He tries to dodge them all the time. He got hurt before the second series this time too.
Right. Yeah. He just doesn't like playing against them. I mean, but like, okay. I mean, the way it shapes out, you win the division. Wild card comes from somewhere else. You play the Braves or Phillies in the first round. Well, I mean, those are hardly juggernauts.
No, I mean it's you get to your whole goal is to get to the playoffs as many times as you can because shit like the 06 Cardinals happens
and the 11 Cardinals.
I mean, they were terrible. They won 83 games.
Yeah, they were bad.
They were lousy, and they win the fucking World Series because they got out for 2 weeks.
Right. It can
That's
happen.
what you get there, and you don't give up on seasons when you might get there, especially when we don't know how long this will last. In theory, the Cubs spending actual money and putting money into development will always be pretty good, but they're the Cubs.
Yeah, I thought there was a small dig from Theo at the Ricketts. Like, it was very coded. You had to kind of look for it. I forgot what it was he said, but there was some reference where, and it was like, well, we have the team we have, and that, or something. It was something like that, where like if you wanted to try and read between the lines, he's like, well, I thought we were going to be able to add to this team, but my dickhead owner says I can't.
Well, I would be astounded if there hasn't been a pretty big falling out.
Yeah, but we would have heard about that. Someone would have that.
I mean, just the idea that we know without knowing. I mean, there's no 100% confirmation, but it's pretty evident that this Theo plotted out last offseason, this most recent offseason, one way, and all of a sudden his boss said, "Oh no, you don't have that money."
Right. I mean, we know that. We talked about this last time.
Right. I mean, you're here. He makes the grand plan, and halfway through, the rug gets pulled out from under him. You're not going to be, you're going to be pissed.
I mean, they're very good with the media, but I have to believe that if Theo had was doing it'd be a face turn in terms of the Ricketts. If he was unhappy, if he was fidgeting at what the budget was, we'd have heard one peep, and we haven't. And Theo doesn't want to rock the boat because that starts to get out, and God knows what you've got. But someone would have that. I mean, someone would know. I would think. I don't know. We'll find out next offseason.
Well, I mean, but look at the stuff that our beat writers get distracted by. Gordon Wittenmeyer's written like 4 articles in the last 2 weeks about Javi and the home run derby. Because that's the most important thing that's going on right now. Is Javi.
Right.
Will he or won't he?
Right, but okay.
Like, holy shit, you wrote another fucking story about Javi and the home run derby?
But Sahanov doesn't carry water. I don't think. I mean, I know. Maybe I'm being a little rose-colored, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say that he does.
It's just like the Hawks. When someone writes the book 10 years from now, we'll find out.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is there somebody saving all the good shit for when they, I remember when people got mad at Sam Smith because there was all that good stuff in the Jordan rules, and they're like, "Well, how come you didn't write this in the paper?" He's like, "Well, no, I put it in a book, and you bought it. Read the book.
Read the book.
You didn't write it down. Here it is. You seem to be enjoying the book, so you're welcome."
Yeah. Boy, Sam Smith was just a different breed.
Yeah.
He's still with us? He's still with us.
Yeah, he writes for Bulls.com.
He writes for Bulls.com now. There's an upset.
Yeah. And he's got the disclaimer on his column every week that they don't approve his stuff.
Sure they don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam. Okay, Sam. Because that's an organization that wouldn't do such a thing.
No, they're all about transparency.
Yeah, real transparent. Well, okay. So what's the conclusion to all this?
I think the conclusion is that if we're sitting around expecting the seismic, holy shit, this is the trade that shook everything up, it's not going to happen, because even if Theo wanted to do it, he doesn't have the person to trade.
Yeah, I mean,
what we came up with good news is that really, if you would just go find one more bat, preferably one that can run around in center field.
It can run around in right field.
That's true. Because Hayward plays. He's just as good a center fielder. I don't want
to do that long term. I wouldn't want to do that next season.
We can do it for the rest of the season.
We can do it for the rest of the season.
Shit! They propped Daniel Murphy up at second base last year.
Barely.
And said, "Please hit it right at him." because he's still going to have to knock it down, pick it up, and then throw to first.
But then he didn't hit, so it didn't matter.
No.
Yeah, and the other thing is they can't.
Well, he's a Cub killer. And
basically, what we said is there's no one they can trade to do the shakeup to wake everyone up. And even the way you do this is fine. You would trade, if you said this season is toast, you would trade someone who is high salary to open up more money to then change your team around next year.
Yeah, but the high salary guys you can't trade.
But the thing is, like, yeah, they don't even really have that many high salary guys.
Well, the two that would come to mind right away would be Hayward and Darvish.
Right.
And you gave them no trades.
You gave them no trades. And even if they were going to go, you'd have to eat.
Their contracts are basically no trade clauses.
You'd have to eat some of their salary.
Yes. So you free up some, but not all of it.
If Hayward finishes out the year with an 800, 820 OPS, you might have an avenue there. But if he's actually hitting, then you're like, well, we are getting a player.
We finally got the player we signed.
Right.
Now we're going to trade him.
Now we're going to move him without a solid plan of how you're going to fill two holes now because you need center and right because we're waving the white flag on Albert Almora.
I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but if he'd have had this year last year when he had the player option, would he have
opted out,
used it, and said, "Hey, I'm pretty good. I can get more money"? I don't think
he's not getting. What does he get? 25, 20?
Yeah, it's too damn much to pass up.
Yeah, he's not going to get more than that. Not at 30. No, that player option was never going to happen unless he hit like 40 homers.
He's going to hit 20 this year.
And we'll be happy
first time in a long time.
We'll be happy to take it.
Yep. Oh, he's been good.
He's been good. Jason Hayward is so far down their list of problems at the moment. Like,
no, he's one of their most dependable players now because he always gives you good defense.
So we'll end up
actually hitting. So
we'll end on this, or this will be our theme. What is more likely? They continue doing this, and the season kind of just peters out. Or coming out of the All-Star break, Rizzo and Bryant both go on one of those 3-week binges where they go, oh God, I don't even know. Like, what's 3 weeks? 18 games or so. So, something like, 20 for 32 or something, driving in a bunch of runs, and they rip off a bunch of wins. I mean, we know what these players are.
Yeah, it's more likely they do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason this is so frustrating right now is because they're too good to play like this.
Yeah.
And so you watch it like, what the fuck? Just get your shit together.
Yeah, I mean, that's my problem. Is it's not.
I mean, we're Cub fans. We know what bad looks like. This isn't it.
I can handle slumps and like weirdness. Like that happens to everybody. It's just the looseness of it. It's the getting picked off, thrown out on the bases, the errors, the dumb decisions. That speaks to something else. That's not just like, I'm not feeling it for this week, or I can't get anything to drop. That's like, I'm just not tuned in. And I don't want to pin that on Madden because we've already tried that.
Well, the sign to me that there's something. Wait till you see the next play. The sign that it's a team that knows it needs a kick in the ass was a couple of weeks ago when Wilson, when he hit the grand slam against the White Sox, as he was rounding second, he's Mr. Demonstrative. He was screaming at the dugout.
Yes.
Like, let's go. Look what I just did. We can do more of this. And then was the next day when Javi did the same thing when he hit the 3-run homer off that was the Braves, I guess.
Yeah.
And he did the exact same thing. And it just felt to me like those are two guys who are like, all right, that's enough of this. That both of them very visibly trying to light a fire under everybody else.
Right.
And
get someone to pay attention.
It's great that they want to do it. It's troubling that they both feel that they need to do it.
Yeah. But then, those are two of your leaders. I mean, those are two of your prominent players. So,
yeah, it's two of your 4 best players.
Does that mean like Rizzo and Bryant have just been checked out?
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, that just
but they're also not. They're not the same. Well, especially Bryant. I mean, I don't think his heartbeat ever gets above.
Right.
Which is amazing to me that he's not better in men with runners in scoring position. Because he seems like he would be the perfect guy to be like, this is just another at bat. I'm just going to do my thing. And he has not been good.
Hit baseball.
And then Rizzo, I think, really is the closest thing they have to a team leader.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seems to like him. He plays hard. All the things you need to actually have the cachet to be a team leader, he's got. So I don't know.
I'm fading into darkness here. I forgot to turn into a light, but we're about to end anyway, so it doesn't matter. Well, yeah. So there you go.
So we fixed nothing.
We fixed nothing.
Was point out that this problem is worse. And if you thought it was bad, I've made it worse.
And by the time we do this again, they'll have lost 2 games to the White Sox. People will be throwing themselves out of windows, and David Kaplan will actually hang himself on TV.
With a very colorful tie.
Yes, indeed.
The worst thing would be if they lose 2 games to the White Sox. They lose the cup. They have to win one of the 2 to retain the cup, and I think we all know how important that is.
Right. Hey, you'd be surprised how many. It's still important to how many Cubs fans it's still important to. I don't even think it's important to White Sox fans anymore. I don't think they care.
I think most people have forgotten there is such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Sox fans who used to think this meant everything are like, no, we've got our cool team that's like getting better. I think
they're actually worried about the other teams, the American League Central, going forward.
Mm-hmm. They're like, how do we beat the Twins?
Yeah. We're Cub fans who have completely put the White Sox rivalry in the rearview mirror. It seems to be coming back.
Right. Because
one of the things, look, at least we've got this.
Because of Eloy and Cease.
Yeah. That's like, that's what you do. You trade players. And honestly, we used to make this argument all the time that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, it's not necessarily. It's not a bad thing when you trade a prospect and he turns out to be really good.
Makes it easier.
Because what that does is it means that when you're trying to sell a prospect to another team, they're like, well, they actually produce guys who are pretty good. For a long time, the Cubs were always selling guys they're all selling Pat Klein. And it's like, no, I don't want that guy. Your prospects always suck. Well, That's not the truth anymore. And yes, it kind of sucks to watch him doing it right across town, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
You play them 4 times a year. You can ignore them the rest of the year. Don't worry about it.
I don't remember exactly, but I remember when Cease was added, he was far from a sure thing then. I was like, oh, he throws real hard, but man, there's a lot. And he looked at today. He throws real hard. He's got great stuff, but we don't know if he's ever going to know where it's going.
No, and if you're a team, if you can add a good veteran, a young veteran pitcher on a good contract, and you have to trade a prospect pitcher, you do it every time because those guys get hurt or they don't develop or they don't do whatever. And
we did this show.
Yes,
we did this show.
I mean, Dylan Cease might be good, but he might never be good for as long as Q is, and you still end up winning that part of the trade. So don't worry about it.
All right, then. Well, I guess the only thing left to do is to make sure everyone enjoys their 4th.
Yes, happy 4th. Don't blow your fingers off.
You have no sense of whimsy.
I have no sense of whimsy?
Yeah.
Well, blow your fingers off then.
Thank you. And we'll try this again next week, maybe 2 weeks, because there's no baseball next week.
No, we can do it live during the All-Star game, because that's such a big thing.
Oh, God.
Maybe there'll be a big trade the day after the All-Star game. There could be a huge trade that changes the whole landscape. I still like the All-Star game. I hate the home run derby. Anything that Chris Berman is on, it's bad. And but he's not on it anymore.
Oh, is he not?
He didn't do it last year.
Thank God.
The format last year was pretty good, although it was more entertaining because Schwarber was in the final, so you had a vested interest in it. And Bryce Harper cheated to win.
Yes,
but it doesn't matter because it's a fucking home run derby and it's an exhibition, and nobody really. Kyle didn't care. I don't know why other people cared. The home run derby is better than it used to be. It's still too long. It's still stupid. And I do like the All-Star game because it feels like an actual game. Plus, it's the only thing to do. Like, there's nothing else. I'm glad. I was at the tie. You went up to Milwaukee for that one? And I really do think I was one of the first people in the park to go, they're going to run out of pitchers, and we're going to have to end this game. Yeah. And then it ruined the All-Star game for a decade. A decade or more. Because you had to have the stupid, this time it counts bullshit. So I'm glad that's out of it. And we're just back to, hey, this is kind of a fun game. Just play it, and then we'll get on with the rest of the season. Get on with our lives. All right, then. Well, thanks, Sam. Enjoy your holiday, Andy. You too.